Have you ever just stopped mid-sentence trying to figure out what pronoun to use? Yeah, you're not alone. The words they and them can cause a surprising amount of head-scratching, especially when we're only talking about one person. But what if I told you there's a simple and honestly elegant solution that's been hiding in plain sight for centuries? Let's jump in and clear this all up.
So, picture this totally normal situation. You're working the front desk, the phone rings. Somebody is on the line. Your first instinct is probably to say, "Great, can you get their name?" Or maybe, "If anyone calls, just tell them I'll call them back." Now, does using their or them for one person, does that feel wrong to you? For a lot of us, it feels like we're breaking some kind of grammar rule. But the real answer? Well, it's probably not what you were taught in school.
Okay, just look at this side by side. On the left, you've got the old school solution, his/her. I mean, it works, but let's be real, it's clunky. It's a mouthful. Then on the right, we have a much smoother option. Every person made their own travel arrangements. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. For years, we were all told that sentence on the right was just wrong. But what if it's not only better, it's also completely correct?
All right, so before we dive into the deep end, let's start with the basics. We're going to build from the ground up, starting with the most straightforward use of they, using it to describe a group of people. This is the one everybody's on board with.
So the key idea here is something called a group noun. You might also hear it called a collective noun. It's exactly what it sounds like, a single word like team or family or government that actually stands for a bunch of people. This is our foundation. Pretty simple, right?
Now, this is where it gets kind of cool. Check out this little difference between British and American English. In the UK, you're more likely to hear someone say, "My family have decided." They're thinking of all the individuals in the family. But in the US, we'd probably say, "The team is in Detroit," treating it like one single thing. But, and this is the really important part, look at what happens right after. Both of them switch to they. They're going in April. They expect to win. It's just the natural go-to pronoun for the group.
Okay, let's get to the main event. This is the part that trips everybody up, using they to talk about just one person. This is where all the grammar debates really start to get heated.
This example is just perfect. Somebody left their umbrella. Somebody is obviously one person, right? But do we know if it's a man or a woman? Nope. So what's the easiest, most natural way to talk about them? Would they please collect it? You know, it just sounds right. Our brains already know this works.
So here's the big takeaway. When can you confidently use the singular they? Well, here's a super useful rule of thumb. It is absolutely correct to use it after these kinds of indefinite words. Words like a person, somebody, anyone, whoever. All of these refer to a single person, but we don't know who they are or their gender is irrelevant. That makes they the perfect pronoun to step in.
Okay, now for what might be the biggest surprise in this whole thing. A lot of people think the singular they is some kind of modern invention, a new trend. But that could not be further from the truth. In fact, the history here tells a completely different story. And there it is, plain and simple. This isn't just me saying it. This comes from a major guide on English grammar. The singular they has been around for centuries. We're talking Shakespeare, Jane Austen, they used it. The real irony is that the rule against it is actually the new invention. It was pushed by a few grammarians back in the 18th century who were trying to make English act more like Latin, completely ignoring how real people actually talked.
And if you still need proof that this is accepted in even the most formal, official places, look no further. This is literally from a British passport application. The child is singular, of course, but the form uses they twice. Why? Because it's clear, it's efficient, and it doesn't make any assumptions. It just works.
So, okay, we've figured out that the singular they is historically sound, it's grammatically correct. But who cares, right? I mean, beyond winning arguments about grammar, why does this actually matter in our everyday conversations?
It really all boils down to these three simple but really powerful benefits. First, it's just clear. You can talk about a doctor or the new manager without having to guess their gender. Second, it's so much more efficient. Let's face it, saying he or she or his or her all the time is just awkward. And finally, and this is maybe the most important one, it's inclusive. It's such a small, easy change that automatically includes everyone without making any assumptions. It's just one little word that can make a really big difference.
When you get right down to it, language isn't some set of ancient rules that are carved in stone. It's a living thing, a tool that changes and evolves to meet our needs. The story of the singular they is a perfect example of that. It's a practical, centuries-old solution that's actually more useful and relevant today than ever before. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As the world keeps changing, what other parts of our language are ready to adapt with it?